Hola, welcome back to another Spanish lesson with Senor Geis. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to use the word de to show possession in Spanish. So possession, if you remember from my last video, means that somebody owns something. And we learned before that you can use the possessive adjective to show who owns something. So we have the word mi, which means my, tu, which means your, su, which means his, her, or its, nuestro, which means our, vuestro, which means your guys's, or your all your, or y'all's, and su, which means their. But what if you want to talk about anybody else? What if you want to say somebody specific owns something? So if you want to do this, you're going to use in English an apostrophe S or an S apostrophe, or you can use the word of. There's two ways in English. So, for example, using the apostrophe S or S apostrophe in English, you can say the grandpa's books, and that means that the grandpa owns the books. The books belong to the grandpa. You can say a mother's children. In this case, the children belong to the mother. The girl's boyfriend, the apostrophe S shows us that the boyfriend belongs to the girl. A cat's mouse. In this case, the mouse belongs to the cat, and that's shown by the apostrophe S. If more than one person owns something, you're going to use S apostrophe in English. So the kid's dad means that the dad belongs to the kids. And the bird's color, the color belongs to the birds, several birds, which is why we put the apostrophe after the S. And then we've got the monkey's bananas, which means the bananas belong to several monkeys. So we've used the apostrophe S, but now you can also use the word of in English. And this is a little bit less common, probably, and it sounds a little bit more awkward, but it is correct grammar. So if we want to say the grandpa's books, and we want to say that with the word of, we'll switch the order of the words, and we'll say the books of the grandpa, and that means the books belong to the grandpa. It means the same thing, just different word order. A mother's children, we can switch the order again and use the word of, and say the children of a mother. So the children comes first and then the mother, instead of the mother's children, where the mother comes first and then the children. A girl's boyfriend, we can switch the order and put the word of in there. So we say the boyfriend of the girl, means that the boyfriend belongs to the girl. Cat's mouse, we can switch the order and say the mouse of a cat. And here we mean the same thing, where the mouse belongs to the cat. The kid's dad, we can switch the order, the dad of the kids, and here it means the same thing, the dad belongs to the kids. Bird's color, switch the order, the color of the birds, the color belongs to the birds, and same thing with the monkey's bananas, the bananas of the monkeys means that the bananas belong to the monkeys. So if you want to do the same thing in Spanish, you can't use the apostrophe S or S apostrophe. That just does not exist. You should never write apostrophe S when you're writing in Spanish. But Spanish does have a word that means of, and that is the word de. De means of. So this is how we are going to show that somebody owns something in Spanish, or that something belongs to somebody in Spanish. So if we want to say a mother's children in Spanish, we can't use that apostrophe S, so we need to rewrite it in the order of the children of a mother. Now that we've got it in this word order, we can change all the words to Spanish and say los hijos de una madre. So now we know that los hijos belong to una madre, a mother's children. A girl's boyfriend, we can't use the apostrophe S in Spanish, so we need to rewrite it as the boyfriend of the girl. Now we can translate it into Spanish and say el novio de la muchacha. Here we know the boyfriend belongs to the girl. El novio belongs to la muchacha. A cat's mouse, we're going to rewrite the mouse of a cat, and then we can put it in Spanish. El ratón de un gato. Mouse belongs to the cat. El ratón belongs to un gato. A kid's dad, switch to the dad of the kids, and then we can write it in Spanish. El papá de los niños. The dad belongs to the children. The bird's color, we're going to change to the color of the birds, and we can put that in Spanish and say el color de los pájaros. The color belongs to the birds. The monkey's bananas, we will rewrite as the bananas of the monkeys and then put it into Spanish. Las bananas de los monos. Las bananas belong to los monos. Now, you're probably noticing that I left this one for last, and that is because there is a little trick that we're going to have to do with this one. So the grandpa's books, we can rewrite it as the books of the grandpa, right? And then we can put it into Spanish and say, los libros de el abuelo. But there's a problem here, and that is that we've got de and el next to each other. When you're writing in Spanish, you can never put de and el next to each other like this. It's just a big no-no. So when you see de next to el, every time you see this, you cannot do that. You need to change it and squish them together into the word del. Okay, what this is a contraction. And there's contractions in English, and contractions, if you remember, are two words that combine into one. So for example, in English, a contraction would be can and not form the word can't. Can, not, can't. Or I plus am turns into I'm, or it plus is turns into its. So it's the same thing in Spanish, where de and el always turn into del. Okay, so if we go back to our example here, we've got los libros de el abuelo. We need to rewrite this and get rid of de and el and replace it with just del. So now we've got los libros del abuelo, and we know that los libros belong to el abuelo. Los libros del abuelo, grandpa's books. And this also works with names, just to reinforce that. Roberto's rose, you can rewrite as the rose of Roberto. And then we can say la rosa de Roberto, Roberto's rose. José's phone, we're going to rewrite as the phone of José. And put that in Spanish, el teléfono de José. And Elena's money, going to rewrite as the money of Elena. And then put it in Spanish, el dinero de Elena. So just to review, in Spanish, we use the word de, which means of, to show possession, that something belongs to somebody in Spanish, and you cannot use an apostrophe S or an S apostrophe when you're writing in Spanish. And then just as a reminder, when you see the words de and el next to each other, they need to turn into del. And the formula for this construction is A de B. So A of B, which means A belongs to B, or the first thing belongs to the second thing. The thing before de belongs to the thing after de. Okay, so let's go through a couple examples and see if you can figure these out on your own. The mother's children. How would you rewrite this to use the word of, first of all? You should have thought the children of the mother. Now, how would you put this into Spanish? If you said los hijos de la madre, you would be correct. Here's another example. The man's taco. How would you rewrite this using the word of? If you said the taco of the man, then you are correct. Now, how would you put this into Spanish? If you said el taco de el hombre, you would actually be wrong, but you're one step closer because you can't have de and el next to each other. So if you said el taco del hombre, then you are correct. And our last example, my friend's sister. How would you put this in a different way using the word of? If you said the sister of my friend, you would be correct. And how would you put this into Spanish? If you said la hermana de mi amigo, then you are correct.